Hey, this is CD channel. I'm Chris, and this is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for Strikeforce Werdum versus Overeem. But before I get into that, I'd like to thank my sponsors, GoBusiness123.com and DeMarcus Sunglasses Boutique in Laguna Beach. Also, for as far as MMA for you goes, we only do like predictions and post-fight analysis. I do plan to do MMA debates and whatnot, but if you guys, I really want to do like a Q&A or something like that. So if you guys have any suggestions, news, or my opinion about the news or something, I don't know, just leave some comments below. But yeah, hopefully I'll get my MMA debates going on, and of course more predictions and post-fight analysis. Okay, let's get to this card. There's a lot to talk about. I'm actually going to start with the main event and go down because I have so much to say in regards to the main event, the heavyweight division in MMA in general, and even MMA fans and the reaction to this main event. So, Overeem beat Fabricio Werdum by unanimous decision. At no point in the fight did I really feel that Werdum was trying to finish the fight, or did I feel that he was, even really going to win the fight. After the flops and, trip takedowns and whatnot, after a while it just, I don't see personally how Werdum, some people have it for Werdum. I do feel he did outland him, but when you're getting hit with like one knee to the face and you flop, Werdum looks like he just got knocked down. So he really did himself a disfavor here. Overeem's performance, he's really hyped before this fight. Yes, he does need to fix his cardio. He was getting hit way too many times, more than I would have liked him to. I want to reserve judgment on Overeem until he fights Bigfoot, actually. I think Overeem's a great fighter. He showed good scrambling ability once he did get taken down. His takedown defense looks pretty good as well. Strong as all hell. And he does have a lot of power in his strikes. I mean, Werdum wanted to flop a lot, and I would think that a lot of that would have to do with Overeem's power and Overeem's strength being to stand up. I think Overeem was kind of thinking like that he was wearing K1 gloves, like big gloves or something, because he would kind of shell up, and that's really bad. It's a good win for him. A lot of people are really forgetting that Werdum was a top 5 heavyweight coming into this fight. He beat guys like Antonio Silva, Gabriel Gonzaga when he was still up there, and of course Fedor. One thing is, some of the things about MMA fans, though, in regards to this fight, I really feel is an overreaction. Yeah, Overeem looked bad. Oh, he shouldn't be placed even in the top 10 now. Well, rankings aren't really based upon performance, but wins and losses from what I remember. GSP looked like crap against Jake Shields. Anderson Silva looked really bad against Talis Leites, and Overeem versus Werdum looked a lot like Anderson versus Leites. You can't look good in a fight like this when one guy just keeps flopping. Some of the litmus has to be put on Werdum. I also want to get something straight with the heavyweight division here, which is my opinion about how, UFC, this proves that UFC heavyweights are better than Strikeforce heavyweights. Yes, with Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos. No, with everyone else. One thing we have to really consider, first of all, is that, especially with the UFC, the division as we know it, with the top 5, Velasquez, Dos Santos, Carwin, Lesnar, and Mir, they're relatively new to the top of the division. It's a very new division in the sense as we know it. And these guys really don't have a lot of significant wins. Shane Carwin, who's a top 5 UFC heavyweight. Best wins: Frank Mir, Gabriel Gonzaga. You know, Frank Mir did not look good in his last fight against Roy Nelson as far as cardio goes. You know, his best wins: what, Tim Sylvia, Nogueira, you know, Nelson, you know, Congo, even Cain Velasquez. Honestly, I mean, yeah, he's UFC champion, but I mean, his best wins really are Congo, Ben Rothwell from the IFL, Nogueira, you know, who hasn't looked that great lately, and Lesnar, who has less than 10 fights. Cain Velasquez has less than 10 fights. I think with any other division, weight division, the UFC definitely has the best fighters, hands down, no joke. Maybe lightweight with Melendez and Alvarez, but otherwise, and even then, I think Edgar and like Maynard are probably better than those two anyways. Well, you know, or at least really close to the point where, like, I think it's safe to say that they're a little bit ahead. But the heavyweight division isn't like that. It doesn't, the UFC isn't so clearly number one in my point of view. Just looking at it from perspective, who have these guys fought? The UFC guys, that's not, like I said, Cain Velasquez. 4 solid to great guys, you know. It's really not, you know, it's still developing, and that's why when I think of like Strikeforce heavyweights versus UFC heavyweights, I don't think it's so clear, you know, as far as like who can really beat who, you know. And that's the thing, you know. Cain Velasquez, yeah, he beat Lesnar, but Lesnar, as we saw in that fight, really doesn't take hits really well. You know, I'm not trying to discredit anyone, but, you know, let's put things in perspective here. You know, it's I find it hard to say that, oh, UFC heavyweights are better. No. Dos Santos, yeah, look at his record. I mean, solid competition throughout. You know, Cain Velasquez, sure, I'll give it to him too. But even his record doesn't really indicate that he's, you know, that's superior. There are skills that I see in him that are superior, but record-wise, you know, it's strong but not overwhelming in any sense. So, yeah, and that's the thing. It's a good win by Overeem. As far as how he'll do against Bigfoot, I think he'll really make it a fight. Bigfoot has good stand-up. He's really big. He has a good double leg takedown, and when he's on top of you, man, he's a force if he's on top of you. This guy's a big dude, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he's shown these skills before. Overeem is more of a solid puncher. One thing you got to watch out for with Bigfoot, he's got a really big head. Mike Kyle was able to get in an overhand right and drop him. Overeem could potentially do the same. You know, just it's a big target. You know, I like Bigfoot. You know, it is what it is, though. You know, I mean, it's just a big target there. Okay, next fight of the night, we got Josh Barnett beating Brett Rogers by arm triangle. I gotta admit, Barnett looked really good. I have to say, yeah. A lot of people are saying, oh, he was expected to do that to Rogers. Yeah, sure, but he looked good. You know, doesn't mean that he didn't pick up Rogers and slam him. Doesn't mean that he didn't, like, pretty much lateral drop him. He had a good strategy of taking him down, mounting him pretty easy. Brett Rogers' ground game is non-existent, of course, and tiring him out. Yeah, it's kind of dull, but I know jiu-jitsu. If you mount a guy, if you put your hips to the guy's belly, you tire the guy out, especially a heavyweight. And in the second round, you know, he locked in the arm triangle and did well. When he fights Sergey, really interesting, as Sergey actually armbarred like Mike Russo, so he does definitely have some good ground ability. He plods a lot, which is pretty bad. I know Sergey does practice sambo as well, but lately his main strength has been his striking, whereas Barnett's strength is in grappling. So it'll be a very interesting style matchup. In this case, I would think that Barnett would win against Sergey at this point, just on the strength of his wrestling and top control. Brett Rogers should really not be have been fighting Overeem, and after losing to Fedor, should not be fighting Barnett. Should be fighting Shane Del Rosario, Devin Cole, maybe Jeff Monson, LeVar Johnson, and more mid-tier fighters. Look at his record. There's a lot of, like, you know, cans to, like, lower tier fighters. Bonga Humphrey's a guy I like, but he's a natural light heavyweight. And then he beats Orlovsky, and then he gets boosted up. The guy, I like Rogers. I just think he should be fighting people. He should have definitely been fighting more of the Monsons, Devin Coles, LeVar Johnsons, as high as like Shane Del Rosario at this point. Okay, next fight after the night. We had Jorge Masvidal beating KJ Nunes by unanimous decision. Nunes got really sloppy. He showed a lot of heart. Obviously, Masvidal gave Nunes a head kick that almost won him the fight in the first round. One concern I do have about Masvidal is he does back up against the cage a lot. He did show good kickboxing here, though. He used the jab a lot, and he does credit the jab in winning this fight. Nunes was definitely a gamer, but I do feel that he wants to box too much in MMA, where like the minute like he's in stance, you know, and he's ready to attack, he gets leg kicked, and then he has to reset, and it's kind of like he gets disrupted too much. I always get the feeling he wants to box, and people that oblige him, he'll look good. But then once you disrupt the boxing, he kind of falters a little. You know, it's kind of like he wants to just go and box in there instead of do MMA. And I like Nunes. I do like his boxing when it looks crisp. Sometimes he's just punching from the hip. Masvidal, I can't see him beat Melendez though. I like Masvidal. But Melendez arguably has better stand-up. His wrestling's very good, and his ability to scramble is really good as well. And Melendez has some nasty ground and pound, and he has great cardio. I just think Masvidal really could make it a fight, but I can't see him winning. Okay, next fight after that, we saw Daniel Cormier beating Jeff Monson by decision. Good. You know, this was definitely a fight for Cormier to really test out his hands, and he had to get strategy going in. His hands are crisp. His right hand was finding the mark a lot of times. A lot of these AKA guys, like Cain Velasquez, Justin Wilcox even, and Daniel Cormier are starting to throw combinations. So their offensive outfit's really good. Defensively, these guys need some work though. But it's working for them. So obviously they haven't had to deal with it yet. But I thought it was a good win by Cormier. He definitely needs to step up. A lot of people are saying Chad Griggs. I don't really like that fight, to be honest. Chad Griggs is getting a lot of wins over lower tier competition. Or Gian Villante is like a light heavyweight who's like new, you know. I don't think, and Cormier, you know, he beat Devin Cole, he beat Jeff Monson. I just think he should be fighting someone a little higher than Chad Griggs at this time. I'm thinking Shane Del Rosario would be pretty good. If you want to give him one of the losers of the GP, it'd be pretty interesting as well. Monson, you know, he's game. He was game. That's all I can really say. Bad strategy, of course. Obviously, he knew that like he couldn't take down Cormier. Maybe he should have pulled guard and tried some half guard sweeps or something. I mean, I don't know. The drop to 205. I mean, the guy's 40 years old. He's like at best a mid-tier guy. You know, he's Monson at this point. You know, it's just lower tier guy. Good test for prospects. He beat a solid guy here and there like Tony Lopez or something. But you know, he's Monson really. Next fight after that, Chad Griggs beat Valentin Overeem by TKO. Valentin tapped out to the punches. Valentin's mental game is terrible. I don't think he should get a call back to Strikeforce, to be perfectly honest. You know, I mean, when he wins big. When he loses big. Chad Griggs, definite Cinderella story, but like, he looks good. But he looks good against lower tier guys, you know, prospects, lower tier guys. You know, technique wise isn't there. he has heart for days, which is really good. He fights to win. He fights to finish, which is really good too. And he goes balls out. I like the guy. I think I know LeVar Johnson has a fight coming up, maybe, but I think someone like a LeVar Johnson, maybe Shane Del Rosario, maybe. I think Del Rosario has more is more technical. But Griggs, I mean, he's a gamer. He'll push forward. He can beat guys. He can throw guys off for sure by putting the pressure that he does, and just taking hits like none other, and keep coming forward. So I like Griggs. Definite Cinderella story. A guy who's just made his name. Took that Bobby Lashley win and just ran with it. I wish I could say the same about Brett Rogers after he beat Arlovsky, but they were giving Griggs the right guys to fight, whereas with Rogers, I mean, they're just giving him elite after elite after elite. So it's definitely a different case here. And next fight after that, we saw Justin Wilcox beating Justice Cavalcante, Jay-Z, and it went to a no decision due to an eye poke. Wilcox was actually landing more and getting the better to stand up on Cavalcante. Judging from the way the fight looked like, I think Wilcox would have taken it actually. Cavalcante, yeah, he just didn't seem, like Wilcox just seemed a little faster and pulling the trigger and getting his hands to connect with his face. Cavalcante does have a good ground game, so you never know if Wilcox decided to take the fight to the ground. Maybe something can change there. You never know. But yeah, Wilcox, man, it's definitely someone to look out for. I mean, these two are going to rematch one of these days, but I'd give the nod to Wilcox. I mean, he's really coming to his own. He has a good win streak going on. And I think the winner of this fight will probably get the winner of Masvidal versus Melendez. Unless, like, Melendez, gets transferred to the UFC or something. Kind of like Nick Diaz. But yeah, watch out for Wilcox. He's going to be a tough guy for any lightweight. Hey, next fight after that, we had Conor Hune and Magno Almeida going to having just a grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu clinic. And Hune winning by decision, even though he clearly had a dislocated elbow after the fight. Oh man, Almeida, he's a prospect to look out for, and I see why. His stand-up's not that great, but the guy, catches that armbar from his back so fast, man. But Hune, man, I was like, he would just step over the guy's head and relieve a lot of the pressure of that armbar. When he was on the bottom in that first round, his rubber guard and high guard, going back to that and throwing strikes from there, really good stuff. High level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here, man. There's some good stuff. Almeida almost finished the fight on multiple times. He almost got a Darce choke, multiple armbars. Hune would not tap, and he knew how to get out of the moves too. Like when Almeida would, he was scooting his hips to connect with Hune's body for the Darce choke. Hune would rotate, the same direction that Almeida was going. With the armbar from the back, he'd jump behind him and kind of get this reverse, body lock type thing. They'd get in some really odd positions, but it was a really good fight. Definitely one of my favorite fights here, actually. I do like Conor Hune. He was on a 2-fight losing streak, but this was a really good win for him. Showed a lot of toughness and a lot of heart. Really proud of him. Magno Almeida's definitely a prospect to look out for as well. Okay, next fight after that, we have Nashan Burrell beating Joe Ray by unanimous decision. Joe Ray is a kickboxer converted into MMA, but Burrell definitely showed some well-roundedness. And he's actually someone I'm going to look out for as far as a prospect. He would take down Ray. He avoided some early submission attempts from Ray. And despite Ray being the, having more of the kickboxing background, I think Burrell might have one too, actually. I'm not too sure. I'd have to check on that, actually. Burrell was definitely getting the better of the stand-up here. I hate to use the term athletic and explosive with a black fighter, but Burrell was pretty athletic and explosive in this fight. Someone to look out for sure. Okay, Todd Moore beat Mike the Greek Gonzalez by unanimous decision. Good win by Moore. I've seen Gonzalez in like shark fights and whatnot. Nothing against the guy personally, but I'm particularly not impressed with him, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, good win by Moore. Okay, and finally, Isaac Valley Flag beat Brian Mellington by split decision. One thing about Flag is that Valley Flag is that he trains out of Jackson, and he's only had 1 loss and a low loss in 10 fights, so he's definitely a prospect who's coming up. Brian Mellington came in kind of fight overweight. The other thing is he really blows his wad in the first round. And I guess he's the type of guy, if you can weather the early storm, you can definitely take the next rounds, and that's what Valley Flag did. He's still a prospect, and he's still coming up. Valley Flag does have good people backing him up. He trains in a great camp. So I'd like to see what else he'll be able to do. Okay, that's it for my Strikeforce Overeem versus Werdum post-fight analysis. I'd like to thank my sponsors, GoBusiness123.com and DeMarco Sunglasses Boutique in Laguna Beach. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you very much.